Did you guys see that Michael Brunswick knee guard pass in the third period? Like, that place was ready to explode. I was losing it. I'm at work here. I'm like, oh my God.
If that pass got through and the Red Wings scored there, you're right. The building would have absolutely exploded, and that would have been just the cherry on top. But instead, the cherry on top was Michael Rasmussen just kind of angling the puck in like a curling shot.
I kind of want to know at the end of the season whose jersey is going to be the highest selling between the three kids, because all of them have given us something to be excited about. But man, that pass, like you said, the eruption would have been, that place would have lit up. It would have been fantastic. But hey, they still won.
And guess what? They beat Jeff Petrie.
To the Flying Octopus Podcast, offering a new perspective on Red Wings hockey, as well as all the important news from around the NHL. And now, here are your hosts, Tony Wolak, Devin Little, and Evan Sabrin.
Hey, it's Carter Bear, and you're listening to the Flying Octopus Podcast.
Well, welcome to episode 56 of the Flying Octopus Podcast, the Eric Gustafson edition. I hope this podcast goes a lot better than his playing career. I am your host, Evan Sabrin, joined as always by my co-host, Tony Wolak and Devin Little. On this week's episode, we'll recap Detroit's two big wins versus Toronto on Saturday and Monday, and the storylines that came out of those two matchups. We'll also review tonight's gutsy 4-1 win versus the Panthers. A lot to discuss there. Then we're going to talk a little bit about Axel Sandin-Pellikka's role as it continues to evolve on the second pairing with Simon Edvinsson. And last but not least, we'll discuss the goalie situation as Todd McLellan has shown right off the bat that he's not afraid to ride the hot goalie with Cam Talbot. A lot to get to as the first week of the season for Detroit is in the books. 3-game winning streak to start it off for Todd McLellan's Red Wings. Let's dive in. Red Wings beat the Leafs 6-3 on Saturday. What a game that was. Wings dominated that one. Outshot the Maple Leafs 35-23. Lucas Raymond, 2 goals, including the 100th of his career. Patrick Kane, who I just told Devin offline, looks like he spent the summer in a hyperbolic chamber. Goal and 2 assists. DeBrincat 3 assists in that win. Wings were down 2-0 after the first, but then they really just took over and dominated that game. Cam Talbot got the win, 20 saves on 23 shots. That was a big win for Detroit, and it was good to see when you consider the murderer's row that was this team starting off the season with. Then on Monday, Wings looked a little sluggish. Larkin got his second goal early on. James Van Riemsdyk, in his Wings debut, scored a nifty goal on a 2-on rush. But the Wings blew a 2-goal lead in the third. ASP, Axel Sandin-Pellikka, going through some growing pains with a bad turnover that led to a tying goal by former Wing, Calle Jarnkrok. Kind of got some Justin Hull vibes there, but overall, I'm pretty happy with the way ASP's played. But Mason Appleton, the MSU alum, I'm always going to throw that in there, Devin, just because. He ripped one home with just under 45 seconds left in the third for his first goal with the Wings, and they held on. But big story coming out of that game, Lucas Raymond injury. And that was a little scary, I know, for Hockey Town seeing that. Don't want to lose that guy, especially this early in the season. Cam Talbot, arguably, and Tony, I know you'll get into this later, had his best game in a Wings uniform, stopping 38 shots and came up big with some huge saves. We talk about a lot about a goalie needing to steal a game now and then. Well, that's exactly what we meant. Tony, it's always fun to beat the Leafs no matter what. And that's kind of like 4 in a row now since they beat them twice in the preseason as well. What are your takeaways out of the 2 games this past week against Toronto?
I mean, as I mentioned, at the beginning, 2 regulation wins. When you go through an absolute gauntlet of a first, 8 games, 10 games of the season, and then have arguably the toughest division in the NHL, banking points early on is huge. And on top of that, you're denying your competition points early on. So first, above all else, that's the most important thing to take away from the Leafs games. On top of that, there's a lot of good, there's a lot of bad. I thought the Monday game was just weird. The puck was bouncing. Everyone looked sluggish on both teams. The shot counter in Toronto was a little overzealous, I thought. But regardless, it wasn't. Red Wings didn't earn the win. They stole the win. They didn't earn it. Cam Talbot was outstanding. You're right. And agree with what he said. Axel Sandin-Pellikka definitely went through some growing pains and had way too many turnovers with the puck, way too many gaffes. You can make the argument that like whatever was going on with the pucks that night, like they were bouncing off everyone's stick. They were bouncing over everyone's stick. Like no one was making crisp passes as a whole. You can't look, you don't look at just one player in Sandin-Pellikka and be like, he stood out as the only person who was making mistakes. Everyone was making mistakes. Even the players on the Leafs were making plenty of mistakes. People were stumbling and falling down too. Like it was a rough game. It's like both teams went out drinking the night before, but what it was is, it was a win and you can just take it with that. And one thing that was encouraging after the fact was when the Red Wings took on the Panthers on a Wednesday night, Sandin-Pellikka had an outstanding game. So whatever was going on in the Toronto game was done. Like I think that was arguably his best game of the season too, against the Panthers. Otherwise, from the Toronto games, I mean, some passengers in some of those games, it differ from game to game. I thought the second and third period on Saturday night was probably like the most complete frame of hockey of the season before playing the Panthers. Devin, how about you? What stood out for you in those two games?
Really just kind of two major storylines. One of them would be the Red Wings found a way to win a game in two different ways. Kind of already mentioned it in the first game. They earned the win. They dominated, obviously, still a lot of 3 goals, but that doesn't necessarily tell the tale of how they overall performed. They played the kind of hockey that they want to play this season, and I think that they can look at that effort and highlight a lot of different things and say, if we continue to do this over the course of the season, we're going to be successful. We're going to end up where we want to be. And then, obviously, again, like you said, Tony, in the next game, everyone was sloppy, but that you also, the Red Wings were sloppy, and they did not earn that win at all. Cam Talbot earned the win, and I'm glad that for his sake that he got the W. He certainly earned it. But after winning a game as the best team to then win the next game against the same team, but where you weren't the best team, the Red Wings got to be able to do that this season. That's the mark of a good team. You find ways to win. You find ways to win games even when you're not the best team. And if the Red Wings can continue to do this, if this, obviously this was game 2 and 3 of the season, still a long, long way to go. But if this is, an early glimpse at what we can expect this season, we're going to be having some real fun games in April. I'll tell you that. And then, of course, the second thing, got to get at this, the Lucas Raymond thing, obviously, leaves the lineup. Mason Appleton gets to play hero at the end of that game. Obviously, then missed the game against the Panthers. He did skate in practice, so he's it doesn't seem like it's going to be a long-term thing. Seems like it's I believe it was described as day-to-day. So I don't necessarily think he's going to be back this week, but I was encouraged to see him at practice, just basically hours after incurring the injury.
Now, on the flip side, the Red Wings, when they played the Panthers, had arguably I can't even think of where it was like this complete of a win. When you look at the lineup from top to bottom, just about everyone contributed and had a good game. Like, you can make the case that the Cop Comfort, Brandt Nygaard weren't their best, but Brandt Nygaard also had several great plays. Otherwise, Larkin's line, great. Kasper's line created a bunch of chances. The fourth line, I was very impressed with. Van Riemsdyk, Rasmussen, and Soderblom. I thought Soderblom had an outstanding game in particular. And I'll give Rasmussen credit in a second here, but for Soderblom, he was playing like he didn't want to come out of the lineup. That's exactly the competition you need from this team this year, is when you have a good player or two who's sitting out every night, that creates this level of competition within the team to maintain their roster spot, because it's not a given they'll be there on the next night. I mean, we've seen that already with the players that the Red Wings have scratched, and Soderblom got another chance in the lineup, and he looked a lot better than the previous game he was in. Rasmussen, I thought he was a lot more engaged throughout the game. He cycled the puck down low well. The empty netter was kind of funny. I won't lie, just because it was the complete opposite of a goal scorer's goal. He did have a great game. I'll give him that. And then if you look at obviously Cam Talbot too, like good tall for the Red Wings. But if you look at the defensive pairs, I can't point to anyone who had a bad game. I think everyone had a solid game. I mean, brought 8 pucks all night and just played mean against the Panthers. And that's what you need him to do. Like that's the type of player that he can be, and it was going to be very effective. He's not obviously not the biggest offensive threat or anything like that. But if he can play mean and bully his way around the defensive zone and eat pucks, that's going to be super helpful for this team. And not to mention Sider played with a lot of poise against some quality players. Edvinsson was on his game. Him and Sandin-Pellikka really did shut down the Marchand line all night. They shut down Marchand's line, very effectively, both just suffocating them in the neutral zone and then, creating a bunch of turnovers when Florida had the puck in Detroit's zone. I can get to that goal real quick. I mean, look, there are different viewpoints from how you can attribute blame to that goal, right? So what happened was Florida won the faceoff. Marchand, who was on green, curled around the circle, went behind the net, and scored on a wraparound. Sandin-Pellikka, Edvinsson angled up in front of the net. Patrick Kane was pursuing him, and Casper was near the net, but wasn't sure who was going to take who there. So obviously, there's a big defensive miscue right there. That said, that puck was stoppable. And I was like, when I saw that going, I was like, okay, you have to have that. Talbot, I just felt like he slid over in slow motion. If you're going to slide over and try to prevent a wraparound, get your stick on the post and make sure you can't, can wrap anything around tightly. And it's also a poke check opportunity for someone coming around the net because they're not expecting these to come flying across and knock out the puck. But instead, he kept the stick in front of him on his backhand instead of flipping it over to his forehand that could have blocked the final. So, I mean, I disagree with the save selection there. And it did look like kind of a weak goal went in, but fortunately, it was the only one. And he otherwise had a very strong game. So no harm, no foul there.
The second period, man, the Wings dominated that. And that easily could have been 4-1 after 2. They had their chances, and I thought they played well. I love seeing Emmett Finney drive to the net. He did that late in the period against Jeff Petrie, or Petrie still knocked him down. But just to watch the confidence in that kid to go after a veteran like that, he was creating chances tonight. And you can see, he's a Shane Malloy type player, Devin. He's got the B game because he thinks the game well, and you can see that on the ice. It was impressive. And MBN really impressed me tonight, too. There was a sequence in the first period where he came back, flying back for a back check. He's not afraid to throw that body around. And like we talked about earlier, man, if he had just gotten that, who was it that didn't bury it from when MBN dove and threw it in front? Was it Finney? Oh God, that could have been the highlight goal for the season right there. And they were just peppering chances all night. I love seeing it. These kids they're fun to watch. And this was one of those games where it was like, if the Red Wings end up losing this, I'm not going to be that down because just of the way they're playing, the way they're moving the puck, everything just feels a little crisper, a little better. Tony, I texted you during the game. Watching them move on the power play was something to behold because the way their feet are moving and the way they're interchanging led to a lot of chances tonight. And, ASP, just he watching him jump in the play tonight, he had a little kind of give and go with Patrick Kane. And ASP is not afraid to jump in the play, and he's going to score some goals like that. Mm-hmm. He's also going to have his growing pains, like we said, but man, he's fun to watch. And the Red Wings aren't playing around with him. And that's one of the things, these are his minutes so far in the 4 games that he's played. Game 1 versus Montreal, 22-34. Game 2 versus Toronto, 18-20. Game 3, 22-12. Only defenseman in that game who played more was Sider at 26-22. And then tonight he played 19-48. So the Red Wings were trolling us this summer. I think the plan all along was for ASP to be here. That's why I'm not kidding. That's why there was no significant right-handed defenseman shot signed. And dude, they've thrown ASP to the wolves, and he has responded. There's going to be those miscues, like again in the Toronto game where I got a Justin Holl vibe where he didn't clear the puck there. But the kid has been a steady presence. We've seen it in the analytics. I'm really excited about him. And as I said before, MBN, Finney, this is a fun team to watch. Regardless of the outcome of this season, whether or not they do make the playoffs, I'm still on the edge about that. But this is fun hockey to watch. And I know everyone who's watching this this is a lot better than what we've been seeing the last few years.
Did you see the TNT crew was all over Emmett Finney during I think it was the second intermission? Paul Bissonnette was highlighting just how Finney, the one shift where Appleton scored, he was in the right place at the right time every second of the shift. And not only that, but like saw where Larkin was on the ice as the center, realized that the middle of the neutral zone needed coverage, so swung into position there instead of being locked into like where he's supposed to be as the wing. Like that sort of on the fly adjustment is not something you have seen from the Red Wings and under Derek Alone's coaching. It's I feel this team is they're a lot more flexible. They are not locked into a certain structure, a certain strategy, a certain place on the ice where they're supposed to be. They know where the 5 players on the ice are supposed to be at any given time, but where they are in those 5 just kind of depends on the context of the moment. And I think they've reacted well to that so far.
Yeah, they were highlighting there because I think Seider was pinching on the right side and Finney came over and covered for them. And that's just a heads up smart play for a very young kid to make in a game like this. And, I know we're all geared up about this, but let's not forget the Panthers are playing shorthanded. Alexander Barkov, Matthew Tkachuk, Dmitry Kulikov all out. But then I looked at the box score and it's like, well, Lucas Raymond's out. Nate Danielson technically is out. So that's a wash, right? But no, I think the Wings really took it to them tonight. And that was just a fun game to watch. I can't remember the last time watching a Red Wings game in the past few seasons, maybe 2 seasons ago when they got close to the playoffs. But something feels different, man. I don't know if it's the youngsters and the vibes, but it's just fun. And it hasn't been fun. And I'm really enjoying myself.
Same here.
Shifting gears, and Tony, I know that's your favorite segue. That's going to be a T-shirt I'm going to send you for Christmas or something. The power play is definitely on a different level this season. I know the power play was great last year, but the way they're interchanging, the way they're moving their feet around, it's confusing defenses, and it looks great. What have you seen so far that you really like out of the new power play?
All right. So the thing about Detroit's power play last year was they were super effective when they were in motion. And this is for everyone listening or watching. This is take 2 because I tried to go through this once before. But then Evan just downed a Butterfinger and had the loudest candy wrapper ever. So I'm trying to start over again and keep my composure here. But where they fell into pitfalls last year is when they got stagnant. Like some teams like Washington, they're super effective with the diamond +1 in the middle. And the player's not moving much, but you just have the right players in the right position, and you're able to score and not move too much from those spots. Now, the Red Wings last year, they were effective when players were in motion, and that's something they're continuing on this year as well. So they're not locked into their spots. Seider's moving across the blue line. Patrick Kane is on his flank, but then curling around the zone, almost all the way over to the other flank if need be. When they enter the zone, they're not just getting to like a position near them. They're making their way to their different spots to start out, but doing so in a way where it's strategic, whether it's holding the puck behind the net, whether it's funneling the puck back up to the point to Seider with everyone else moving around into their spots. But against the Panthers and against the Leafs, especially on Saturday night, the 2 flanks and the quarterback of the power play for both units, those players are almost always in motion. So when Lucas Raymond is on his flank, he'll catch a pass from Seider. He has the option to look at Larkin in the bumper slot for a one-timer. He has the option to shoot it down low to Brinkat, to pass it back to Seider, shoot it across the Kane. Like he has 4 options to like immediately pass without moving. But on top of that, he has a 5th option to move himself. And that changes the way that the defense is set up because they go from reacting to where is his pass going to go to, okay, we need to react to where he's moving to his new location and adjust our lanes based on that. So what that's normally doing is as he slides to the middle off his flank, Brinkat is sliding up a little bit from the net front side of the net position for an open one-timer. We've seen that, that's something that the Red Wings have done several times. If you go back a couple years when David Perron was still on the team and Detroit had that furious comeback against the Canadiens in the second to last game of the 2023-24 season, that's the same play after Shane Gostisbehere made the Calvin Johnson catch on the blue line to bring the puck in and keep it from being cleared. Same thing. Perron moved to the center of the slot, passed it down to Raymond at the side of the net, who had a wide open shot to the far side to, I think it was tie the game at that point. That's a play they're still doing, and it's still effective. It's all because of that player movement. You're taking, a finite number of options and you're expanding it because the calculus keeps changing based on the player movement. And for those fans who have been with the organization for a long time, been watching the Red Wings for a long time, that's what made the Russian Five so effective. They never stayed in one place. They were always moving, regardless of what position they were in. It's nice to see the power plays bringing that back to life here.
Let's talk a little bit about Patrick Kane, and I teased that earlier about his play. I mean, does he not look 10 years younger to you? He's been on fire this year, and just the passing, the playmaking. Did you see him even hustling down into the zone today? Ripped the puck away from one of the defenders there. He looks like he's a guy on a mission, and the chemistry with him and DeBrincat. I know Amazon Prime did a little feature on them tonight before the game, but yeah, Kane's been. He's been a pleasant surprise. Not that we don't know that Patrick Kane is great and all, but like as he gets older, he's aging like fine wine. He looks great on the power play, and I think he's more than a power play specialist, even though we tend to, call him that. But his play is really impressive as he gets older.
I would agree with that. I would definitely agree with that, and I think that kind of goes back to we can kind of echo what you were saying earlier about the hyperbolic chamber, right? Kane's a man on a mission this year. The TNT broadcast crew talked about this. The Olympics are coming up later this year. As prolific a career as Patrick Kane has had, he's certainly not a slam dunk for the Team USA roster. They kind of had a little back and forth there where, they're talking about how if he makes it, he's probably an extra forward. Even if that is the case, he seems like, whether it's his play on the power play or even 5-on-5 or I don't know. He just has a renewed energy to him this year that you're kind of alluding to earlier there, Evan. And I think that he's one way or another, he wants one last shot at representing the red, white, and blue. So the Red Wings are certainly reaping the benefits of that. Right?
And you know what? Even if he doesn't get that roster spot, he's still representing the red and white very well, and we'll take that.
I think they could give him a spot just because of the experience he brings, and he's been through the battles. Still never forget 2010. What an epic run that was, and what a big role he played in that Olympics. I don't think we're ever going to see another Olympics like that that'll ever top the drama, the emotion, and the getting to that gold medal game. And God, what a kick in the nuts that was. Tony, Cam Talbot started the last 3 games, all wins for the Red Wings. Todd McClellan has shown us early on in the season that if someone's not up to par performance-wise, he's not afraid to pull him out of the lineup. And John Gibson, who the Red Wings brought in this offseason to kind of stabilize the goaltending situation, he had one bad start, and boom, right straight to Cam Talbot. And 3 straight starts for Talbot. I know McClellan announced this week that Gibson will start Friday against the Lightning. But do we have a goaltending controversy, Tony?
No. This is a tandem. I mean, look, I mentioned this in writing for the Hockey Writers. I mentioned this on here before. Cam Talbot and John Gibson are going to be splitting these games 50-50. Now, you're not going to get, Gibson plays one, Talbot plays one. Gibson plays one, Talbot plays one. That's just not how it's going to work. You're going to have this sort of go with the hot hand all season. And by the end of it, they're both going to have about 40 starts. That's just how it's going to work. With these 2 goalies, their talent level, their age. Gibson, I'm not worried about. It seems like just about every Red Wings goalie, when they're new to the organization, it takes them a minute to get adjusted. And with Gibson, he had an awful game against Montreal. We don't need to revisit that one too deeply. Talbot played well against Toronto. It makes sense to go back to him. Played very well against Toronto on Monday. Yeah, you should reward the guy as long as he's not battling anything. Give him another game. And then he played another outstanding game against Florida. And I think at that point it's all right, well, we're going to go a week in between starts for Gibson here. Otherwise, so he gets the Tampa Bay game, be a little bit more balanced. Hopefully he gets his feet under him. And, the Red Wings are going to need 2 goalies. That's just the fact of the matter here. I'm not worried about Gibson, moving into the future. I think he's going to be just fine, but it would be a really nice thing if the Red Wings had 2 dependable goalies.
If anything, for me, I'm with you, Tony. I'm not writing off John Gibson by any means. If anything, what this stretch has done for me, we kind of wrote off Cam Talbot, like everyone did kind of in the offseason because of the John Gibson acquisition. He's the shiny new thing, right? That's how it works. Cam Talbot's still Cam Talbot, and Cam Talbot's a kind of goalie that can play like he did on Monday and like he did Wednesday night against the Panthers as well. He's good enough to win you games, and he continues to be, and I think he'll be that caliber of goalie throughout this season too. It's why they brought him to Detroit in the first place, and he's, like I said, if anything, this kind of has kind of reminded myself and honestly a lot of other people. I think that yes, John Gibson is a big upgrade in net, but also Cam Talbot's there too, and he's a big reason why you should have faith in the Red Wings goaltending to some degree this season.
Yeah, and don't forget, the Red Wings have games on Wednesday and Thursday next week back to back. First playing in Buffalo and then playing against the New York Islanders. So they're going to split those games. We know that. Then the week after that, play the Los Angeles Kings on Thursday and then the Anaheim Ducks on Friday. And I assume, Evan, you're probably going to both those games, if not one of those games. But it would make sense for Talbot to play against his old team in the Kings and John Gibson to get the start against Anaheim. Like, both of these goalies are going to play. Like, just how the schedule works, like, let alone like riding the hot hand. Because, there's could be some tough teams still coming up in these next few weeks here, and they're going to need both goalies to be on their game. They can't be riding one goalie that's early in the season.
If I tell you what I'm doing that Thursday and Friday, I don't know if you guys will want to continue to be friends with me, because I will not be attending either game. Working late on Thursday, but Friday is my off day. So you would think I would make it down to Anaheim, but I will be dressed up as one of the K-pop demon hunters for trick-or-treating. Got my wig yesterday. I think I'm Junie or something, which I guess is an upgrade from last year when I was a unicorn, a rainbow-colored unicorn walking around my subdivision. But yeah, I'm not gonna be at those games, and I'm pretty bummed about it. But thanks for bringing that up, Tony.
No problem. And just for the people listening at home, Evan does have a kid. He's not just walking around in those costumes.
What are you guys doing what are you guys dressed up for as Halloween? What are you guys doing? You got to do something. You got kids, Tony. Come on, give it to us.
Yeah, Emmett's gonna be Captain America, and Steph and I are just trying to figure out what we want to do. Like, are we going to be other Marvel characters, but also intrude on like what Emmett and his friends are doing? Because I know at least one's going to be Spider-Man, so they might have a whole thing going on. I don't want to be the make us part of it, but we can be some of the villains. That might actually be fun.
There you go.
Have the kids chase us around. Yeah, I'll look into that.
Before I had a kid, my wife loves dressing up for Halloween, and I can't stand it. You should see our house. It's like the Halloween version of the Griswolds from National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. And so I would just throw on a Red Wings jersey or a Lions jersey, and that would be my costume for the year. But now with a young daughter, 5-year-old, I get to dress up in the craziest things that you can imagine. And my wife loves the costume shop, and I'll post some pictures now, since people are probably going to want to see this now. Evan dressed up as a K-pop demon hunter. Devin, are you going trick-or-treating? Yes or no?
No, but I'll be getting discount candy the next day. That's for sure. I'll go trick-or-treating at my local Meijer.
I don't mind trick-or-treating. I still my kid, we have to take half her candy anyway, so it works out well. And she doesn't like Butterfingers, like I just interrupted Tony with earlier. So you can prepare for more of those in upcoming episodes. But looks like we went off a little bit off the rails here, guys. And it's time to about wrap it up. But before we do that, Devin, you got us for news and notes for this week.
I sure do. We got a couple of, it seems like we always are focusing on the Atlantic Division. I don't know why that is, but haha. A couple of bits here from the two of the three Canadian teams in the Atlantic Division. Brady Tkachuk to miss at least a month. Obviously, Ottawa Senators captain. We're talking about, the personnel missing from the Florida Panthers. Now, this is a pretty significant loss for the Ottawa Senators. Again, wish Brady well. Hopefully, he's back sooner rather than later. Again, you don't want to see these high-end talents missing from the game. But this is another window of opportunity for the Red Wings in terms of their race to stay atop the Atlantic Division. This is definitely a team they're going to be jockeying with throughout the season. Evan, I'm going to toss this over to you real quick. Do you think the Red Wings will be able to cash in on this opportunity? This is obviously like a month. What do you think here?
Well, Ottawa got pumped tonight, 8-4 by the Sabres. So that's a good sign for Detroit. And let's not, yes, I never wish injury on anyone, but there's a part of me that likes to watch Ottawa struggle with all the issues that the Red Wings have had with the Senators over the years. Ottawa has a good young team, but they're also too like, struggling to figure it out as well. So I mean, this is a great time to, like we always talk about, bank points early, bank those points early, and get that lead. Just don't blow it like the Tigers did. But it was I'm not going to be, I'm the Jerry Seinfeld meme. That's a shame. Eating my popcorn. That Ottawa's struggling right now. Just a shame. Just a shame. Tony?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. It is about just banking points at this point, because like the Red Wings are going to have cold streaks at some point. So take advantage of the times, the moments, the weeks, the opportunities where your Atlantic Division foes are not at their best. And it's obviously with the Florida Panthers, like they're still a really good team, even without Matthew Tkachuk and Alex Barkov. Still a really good team. We saw that with just how well Bobrovsky played and how well Marchand played and the rest of the team, Reinhart and Bennett. But you got to bank these points, because like you're not going to have these many opportunities.
Even more of a reason to highlight how important it was for the Red Wings to get a win against the Panthers with Lucas Raymond missing from their lineup, right? Pivoting now to Montreal, big news out of there was a contract for Lane Hudson, obviously a star defenseman over there. He signed a 8-year extension with the Canadiens. The cap hit is 8.85. A lot of people on social media, at least Red Wings fans, are kind of immediately jumping to the Moritz Seider contract, kind of comparing how that looks. Seider signed a 7-year contract. Hudson signed an 8-year contract. So I think the Canadians got a little bit better value there. What are you seeing on your end, Tony?
You're right. It does make Seider's contract look even better, but it is another comparable for Simon Edmondson's upcoming contract negotiations. Two very different players, but still, with Edmondson, you have the pedigree, you have the defensive prowess, you could see him as a building block for the future in the same way you can see Lane Hudson as a building block for the future. Like, this is something that Edmonton's representatives are going to bring to the table and say, like, hey, we think this makes sense. Hey, we think Luke Hughes' contract makes sense. Hey, we think he should be getting more than Jacob Chikrin did with the Capitals, based on all like certain comparables and stuff. Like, it's lining up for him to get a nice payday, 1000%. But these are some of the things that Red Wings fans need to monitor. I think Thomas Harley is the last one who is in the same sort of cohort. We'll see what kind of contract he signs. I believe he's going to be an RFA at the end of this year too. Otherwise, it's up to Edmondson just to show that he can put up points. He can be a stalwart defenseman. He can be like absolute building block for this team, and he should be paid as such.
And then what happens in 2 years when Axel Sandin-Pellikka needs to sign?
Dude, we'll get to that. We got plenty of time for that.
We'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
We are definitely coming up on a period of time here where every year there's a significant contract coming out, because Marco Kasper's next year, right? Like it's going to be bang, bang, bang for a little bit here, but at least the good news there is that the salary cap seems to be skyrocketing. So.
And the Wings do have space. Well, guys, that's going to do it for episode 56. The Eric Gustafson kind of went off the rails K-pop Demon Hunter Halloween costume episode. Red Wings, they're going to host the Lightning on Friday and then host the Islanders on Sunday before traveling to Buffalo on Wednesday and a back-to-back against the Islanders on Thursday. We'll be joining you next week with more. I mean, this is a tough little stretch here, but it's going to be interesting to see how this team responds. I really like what I've seen so far, and I know most of Hockeytown does. So let's hope we're coming back with some more good news. And, at the end of the day, I think the kids are all right. So once again, thanks for watching. We'll see you next week. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Flying Octopus Podcast. Follow us on YouTube at the Flying Octopus channel and Twitter at Flying Octopod.